saying words. Am I coming through clearly? Awesome. All right. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and start things off. Okay. Just a quick disclaimer. The connection is a little bit spotty. Um, if you back up by a minute, you'll probably miss a lot of the little buffering stops along the way. But other than that, we're good to go. So, thank you everybody who's tuning in either now or once this video gets put up on the channel to my first live, where basically I'm going to build Star Wars things and I'm going to talk about Star Wars or myself or whatever else I feel like talking about, to be honest. And any questions you guys might have, feel free to put them in the chat. I'm keeping an eye out as much as I can. So let's get started. Now we'll go ahead and just use my keys for this part, because out of all the things I prepped for this, I did not prep opening the box. Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga. Oh no, I've disconnected. Okay, maybe I haven't. Anyway, which means there's likely a Lego Skywalker Saga Let's Play on the horizon, because I remember playing Episode 1's Lego Star Wars game back in the day, roughly around the time it came out. I think I was playing it on PlayStation 2, maybe? And I absolutely loved it. I thought it was great. I thought it was going to be cheesy because it was very kid-like, but the game was actually a lot of fun. The combat was a lot smoother than I thought it would be. The story beats were super good, even though, like, if I remember correctly, they don't actually talk a lot in the Lego Star Wars games. They kind of just make faces and kind of gesture towards what they're talking about, and you get enough of an idea of what people are thinking. And of course, you already know of these Star Wars movies going in usually, and that helps. But it was great. It was a great way to do storytelling. Let's see, bag one is where we start. So, thing about me when it comes to Legos is I like to do some level of sorting, and I have been incredibly meticulous in the past. I'm not going to be that meticulous right now. What I'm actually going to do, stuff out all this stuff, and the first level of sorting I do is I take all the little baggies, put them aside. Anything that came out without a little baggie from the big baggie goes in a pile, just like so. And then what first I will do is grab all of the big flats. I think it's good to have all the big flats in one spot, because that way they're not blocking other smaller pieces, and it just makes things a little bit easier to locate down the road. I have I have spent like 10 minutes looking for a piece before, and I'm pretty sure the only reason I couldn't find it is because one of these was blocking it the entire time. So, learned my lesson. I separate these out. And looks like we don't have any more big flats, but okay, one more big flat. And then we got some smaller flats, which are also good to separate as well. So, with these pieces, I'm pretty sure these pieces aren't going to hide each other too much. So we can go ahead and move on to the tiny bags. This thing is really cool. I remember losing my mind the first time I saw this, because this was back in, what, 2015 or so? I hadn't played with Legos or built anything with Legos in years. And I remember seeing this tool, like, man, this would have come in handy so many times in the past, because it just makes removing those smaller pieces from the bigger pieces without, you know, putting near permanent dents in your finger pads so much easier. So we love this thing. I have many of them floating around. Don't know why I keep all of them. I should just limit it down to specific colors. Like this one's like a teal blue color. And I have an orange one floating around. I have many orange ones floating around. I really should bring that down to one. So moving on to the first tiny bag. There are times when I will go more in depth with sorting the tiny bags because this is not one of those cases, because you can see in this tiny bag most of the pieces are pretty different. There aren't a ridiculous amount of pieces that are similar. Where when I was working on the Imperial Star Destroyer, which is on my overhead bin at work, there was one of the tiny bags was literally, I want to say at least 45 pieces that were 1 by 2, and they weren't even blocks. They were the little. Let's see if I can find an example here. Hold on. No example here, but it was basically those pieces that connect two pieces together in the middle, and there was like 45 of them, and they were this tiny, and I was not about to sift through everything to find every single last one. Later on in building the set, I'd like to kind of cruise once I've got everything set up. With that said, there will probably be a fair amount of. There's no way they gave me this set without this piece, and they never do. The piece is always there. I just I have to look longer and harder. That's all. All right. So we have our good piles. We'll go ahead and move this aside. Am I in the borders? I am in the borders. Okay. I have little tape borders on this table for myself because spatial awareness is not my strong suit, and I will just end up putting pieces out of frame. All right, so step 1, big black flat, and 2 2x2s with the tan. Yeah. And I try to make sure I'm lining up with perspective and everything. One of these days I will eventually start doing these Lego sets with glue. But I'm not as confident in that yet, because there are times when I will be working on a Lego set for about 4 hours, and then at some point I realize I either missed a step or I messed up a step along the way, and had to deconstruct nearly the whole thing to get that piece fixed. And yeah, I would hate to run into that situation when I've already started gluing pieces down. Let's see. Something random and cool. That is very true. I used to have buckets and buckets of Lego pieces. Back when and you know, I've never seen these buckets in the store. They might be there. I won't lie. Anytime I walk into a Lego section, the first thing I go to is the Star Wars section, and I just look at what I want. I don't think they still do the buckets where it's just like, here's a bucket of 500 pieces in random amounts. Well, not necessarily random, but there is a wide assortment that you can use. But I used to have a lot of those growing up. It was very dangerous for my parents' feet, let me tell you. And my own. But I don't know. I remember being very good at ignoring that pain. Let's see. Please do not be alarmed. My son is going down for bed, and he's a little rebellious lately. It's because he's not feeling well, and I understand that. But it'll be okay. Well, I guess we're starting that now. Hopefully I don't lose too many pieces to the floor as we go. Because that is another situation I've run into. It's getting to a point, never finding the piece in my little sections that I've made. Come to find out, I dropped it on the floor at some point. And that really extends the time it takes to make these builds a lot. I hope I'm not covering too much of the build with my fingers. I think I'm not sure of another way I can do that to avoid that, because it is a very hands-on project, but we'll see. So, okay, so anybody tuning in or having tuned in and not seeing what we're working on this one right here. The helmet that Princess Leia was wearing when she got Solo out of Carbonite. If you guys are seasoned and remember Star Wars Galaxies, it was the first Star Wars MMO that I recall. It was very good mechanically. I think at the time the graphics weren't. It wasn't World of Warcraft, and not many things were other than World of Warcraft. So it killed a lot of games, and Star Wars Galaxies was one of them. But in Star Wars Galaxies, this helmet, which I think is called a Bosch helmet, according to the box, is called a Ubis helmet in Star Wars Galaxies. So that was very confusing for me at first, because I knew it as a Ubis helmet from that. Now, I do know that if anybody's interested, and there's a fair chance you might be, there are many Star Wars Galaxies private servers going still. I wouldn't say many, a handful. There's enough that you could hop on a server and, see what the game was like. It was definitely very hard in the beginning. It did get easier after Sony took over with it. I think it was Sony. And that's when it pretty much sealed the deal on its death. When it got easier, people got less interested and jumped ship, pretty much. So, yeah. On to the next page. There's also a game I didn't play a lot of. I know when Jump to Lightspeed was one of the expansions for that game, and that I did jump into very quickly. I was very excited that I could join the Empire and hop in a TIE fighter pretty quickly after starting the game. But at the time, I was already playing World of Warcraft, and that took World of Warcraft. I think I played that for a total 16 years. I think I played 16 years of World of Warcraft. I started at I started at 14, ended at pretty much 31, 30-ish, because life. And also, as much as I love the storyline for World of Warcraft, the game itself just it became old, and anything they tried to do felt old. Anything they tried to do that was new felt old very shortly after it felt new. So I just kind of got over it. I did go back for Classic, and I was in a guild that did fairly well. We downed Nefarian week 1 when it dropped. But then we got to on AQ40, and it caused a lot of arguments, caused a lot of upset feelings, and it caused the guild to just nuke. And in the process, some of us tried to keep carrying on, and there was no saving it at that point. But, There's only so much you can do. A lot of it was ego, and a lot of it was impatience, and a lot of it was incompetence. Um, you know, we had a lot of players who thought they were better than they were, and in that case, and due to that, they didn't improve. They didn't get any better. They kept making the same mistakes every week, and blaming the same people, same glitches every week, when honestly it was just them being bad, and they didn't want to fess up to that. I wasn't the best hunter in the guild. Easily not the best hunter in the guild. But every week I tried to get better. And I did get better. So I feel like that is the healthier mindset to have. Now, if you get to a point where you are on it 99.9% and you're parsing 99s, then you can have a bit of an ego about you and be very particular about whose advice you take. But if you're sucking and you know it, but you don't want to admit it, you're just gonna have to eat that humble pie. Hey, it helps, man. Let's see. Next. I realized something. I'm doing something I've never done before with the Lego build, which I have not looked once at the preset box of items. I've only been looking at the model and what pieces I have not added yet. I'm pretty sure I've been accurate up to this point, and well, we'll find out if I wasn't. Here you are. All right. All right, we need a 4-piece and 2 of those little brown barrels. They're not really barrels, but that's what I call them. That's what they look like to me. I have a lot of funny names for these Lego pieces in my head. Kind of shorthand for myself to find what pieces I need. If I remember, and I will try to remember as best I can, I will call those out when they pop in my head. So if anybody's in the stream right now, could you please let me know how broken is the connection? Because it looks like I'm having spotty connection, but it also seems to be pretty consistent on the back end of YouTube. This has got to be one of my favorite songs from early 2000s. Papa Roach is just amazing. I watched a recent concert they did, a recording of it, and phenomenal. They have not lost their quality at all. If I remember correctly, there was a brief period where Jacoby was having a little bit trouble with his vocals, and that was just a matter of I think they had taken a break for a while, but he came back, went back to grinding it out, and they sound good again. So, not too worried about it. All right, how is this lining up? Hold on a minute. Ah, I see. Okay, I almost skipped a step. This right here. 1, 2. Also, I will say I am excited to find out that I am better at doing Legos while talking than talking while playing video games. Because in my Let's Plays, there are definitely moments where I'm just running around doing God knows what because I'm so focused on what I'm talking that I'm kind of just running in circles, not really doing anything in the game. I almost completely blocked myself off from my Coke. Now, I kind of want to talk about Star Wars Galaxies a little bit more. Another thing I liked about Star Wars Galaxies is how massive the planets were. Um, you could build a whole city on your own and expand to the point where you started consuming other cities on the planet. And just having that large space seemed really, really cool at the very beginning. Uh, After a bit of time, especially if you're on a server where there's not a large population, uh, you then realize you're riding for thousands of meters without seeing anything. Just bushes. And we could be pretty dead in a lot of areas, and that was the only downside. As far as like the prefab locations, those were cool, but in some cases they were definitely few and far between. When they first rolled out the Jedi quest line, that was a lot of fun. Um, Believe it or not, my mom was actually one of the first few Jedi. I think she might have been third in the world to get a Jedi, which was awesome at the time because if you had a Jedi at that time, they were leagues stronger than a normal character. And usually, when bounties were created for Jedi, um, they wouldn't. They usually wouldn't take you out by themselves. They would bring a party to take you down for the bounty. I likely won't be copyrighted for the music only because at the moment I am not monetized for live nor videos. So I'm making no money on this stream. And in that case, this is basically free advertising for whoever I'm playing in the background. Um, I do I do need to start making more background music for myself. Um, if anybody remembers, or if you guys would like to check it out, when I did my forest playthrough, I actually did sprinkle in a little bit of my own original music for the Longhouse build video and the workshop build video, which those videos did pretty well. I'm very happy with those. They still get views here and there. I think it was actually the workshop and the chicken coop video where I used the original music, and that was a lullaby I wrote for my wife many years ago, and it still holds up. The funny thing about the lullaby I wrote for her is I had never actually listened to it without playing it. And when you're playing something, you have a different connection with it than when you're just listening to it. So the first time I added my lullaby to one of my videos in the forest, I played it back for myself and I got extremely drowsy. I didn't realize like how soothing it sounded when I'm not performing it, which was really nice. It was nice to see it from that different perspective. Here we go. Back in the border. They want to see you. Okay. Slowly but surely we are getting there, guys. I'm going to try and finish this in one stream, if that is possible. The only thing I see being a problem for that is either this camera here, my main camera, or the overhead camera dying out. If the overhead camera dies, I might move my stuff closer to the forward camera so that you guys can still see what I'm doing while we're talking. If this one dies, I will maybe just move to the overhead view and continue the stream anyway. I would really like to get this done in one stream. And with that said, I should probably pick up the pace just a little bit. But I am having a lot of fun just info dumping on you guys because I like to info dump. I like to share the things I enjoy. And it's one of the main reasons I started the channel. And, you know, at first it was the forest. And then it was, no, it wasn't the forest. Excuse me. It was Valheim. That was where I did my crafting videos. Valheim. At first it was Valheim, and then it was the forest. And those were really good. Valheim, I hadn't been in it in a while. They had a lot of new content. It was really fun to get back into. The forest, I had never played more than 5-10 minutes of that game. My wife and I had tried it one time, and bless her heart, it was terrifying for her. It was terrifying for me as well. But I think it affected her a bit more than myself because we didn't know that lighting torches at night brought more baddies to come get you instead of keeping them away. So here we are trying to build our first shelter, and we're just getting attacked by cannibals the entire time. After that, we were just like, you know what, our anxiety can't deal with this game right now. So we we went back to another game. I think at the time it might have actually been Valheim at the time. We usually like to hop on different survival games of various genres whenever we can. 7 Days to Die is one of them. Minecraft was one of them. Minecraft, I don't know. Every now and then I feel like going back to it, but then it's one of those games where if I think about it for more than 2 seconds, I'm like, you know what? Maybe not. Because here's the thing about me with survival games with building. I can go nuts with building, and the only problem with that is time. So what I have to do for building, and this is the main reason I haven't put out any other building videos for Valheim just yet. I do plan to, is because it takes some planning and it takes a lot of resource gathering. Now, because I've beaten Valheim Mistlands, I'm going to allow myself some freedom with my own personal rules when it comes to that stuff. So because I've beaten the game, I am allowed to give myself materials, give myself tools, stuff like that to do the building stuff. So the first step is going to be plotting stuff out. I will literally sometimes black screen back on again quickly. Okay, I think that's OBS disconnecting here and there. It's not very much, but it does happen. But if I recall, when this goes on the back end onto my YouTube channel, the resulting video from this stream will actually be consistent all the way through. Like all these buffering interruptions or disconnects from OBS will be cut out automatically. I did do some testing midnight last night, roughly, maybe 1 or 2 in the morning, just to see how it worked, just to make sure I could get the stream up, make sure I could get things going. And it was great. So that's why we are here today. We did the proper amount of testing and troubleshooting and making sure we could deliver a good live to you. So if the disruptions get to be too much, I understand. It can be a little hard to hear me herk and jerk around these stories or any info dumping I'm doing. If you guys want to back up the video a couple minutes, that'll help with that. If you guys want to wait until this is a fully fleshed out video and that pops up on the channel, I understand that too. And I say thank you very much for stopping by. I am already having a very good turnout and very happy about that. The fact that even one person is here is enough. Oh no! Have I lost a piece? Is this the time? No, I never lose pieces. I just am selectively blind. No, not selectively blind. Involuntarily blind towards things. If it was selectively, that implies that I want to not see this, and that is not the case. It's another one of these 1x1s. You can see it right here. And I don't know where it went. None in the bag? The bag keep a piece? No? Okay. We're gonna have to check the floor. Because it's not unheard of. Right, dropped a piece on the floor once today. Nope. Oh, no, I actually only need one of these, not two. Dang it. This is why I need to read instructions. This is why I need to check the little box that tells me how many pieces I need instead of just eyeballing it. Because then I slow myself down like this, and it's no fun. No fun at all. So let's go ahead and fix that. Get this piece on here. Remember where I am presenting. Of course. We good? We good? Looks good. Alright, next. Okay. One by one flat black. Two black arches. To the brown rectangle eyeball thingies. That's how it's popping up in my head right now. I'm pretty sure I could have a much cleverer name for it, but much more clever name for it. But at the moment, it eludes me. So this is what we're going with. Let's see. All right, this one has the brown. It's gonna have the black on the bottom. And then the other is going to have just the brown on it. Got it. There it is. All right. Okay, you know what? Now I need to check something. The one with the square bottom should be on the left. It is not. I knew it. It's a good thing I checked, guys. So we're fixing this, and then we're making sure we do it correctly for the next one too. Because you never know. Something like that could throw something off later, and I don't want it to. Because Lego is very intricate. Let's see. Not as intricate as like Connects, but see, here's the thing. I got Connects when I was younger, and like the first time I got one, I was working on the model, and it had me putting one piece or connecting like 3 pieces together, and I think the pieces were bent when they got to me, and I just couldn't get them to bend the way I wanted to or the way they should be and connect them at the same time, and that just drove me batty. So we didn't get Connects again after that. We stuck with our Legos because it's a pretty simple concept, and it's pretty hard to get defective pieces with Lego. They're pretty dang consistent. So let's move on to black wing pieces, or excuse me, brown wing pieces. The 2 quarter circles. Don't worry, nobody can see it. It's fine. And then this one two little brown dots. Then we got long black strip, gray rectangle, and we've got two gray quarter circles. We're on our way. Quarter circle? Is this really a quarter? Wait, hold on. I don't know if this is a... Let me double check. It is a quarter. Okay. It just looks like a smaller section than a quarter, but my eyes are playing tricks on me. It's all good. All right. Big flat across. There we go. Oh, Mudvayne. I saw this band when I was 13, I think, actually. I was in Millington. Actually, you know what? Let's not dox my history here. I was in interstate, and Lincoln Park was coming through, doing their tour, and they had Mudvayne, they had Exhibit with them. Now, at the time, I had no previous knowledge of Exhibit, and rap at the time was not my thing. I have come to appreciate rap a lot more since I was 13 years old. But at the time, did not care for it. But Mudvayne came out. I had never heard one of their songs, and they absolutely rocked the show. I loved everything about it. I still stayed for Lincoln Park because we were definitely there for the headliner, but it was a beautiful surprise to see Mudvayne beforehand because they could have been headlining their own tour at that time. Another good example, actually, of openers that were surprisingly good and actually resulted in me kind of diving into their music head first was Polyphia. They actually opened for Coheed and Cambria, and I remember being absolutely blown away because I had never thought that an instrumental band, could come up and rock out just as hard as a band without a singer. And I remember thinking at the time, like, this band doesn't need a singer. The guitars are already singing for us. So it was a beautiful experience. I dove headfirst into any of their music I could find. And then they blew up very shortly after that. Like, this was around the time that they released the Renaissance album, and I love that album. But after that, their rise was meteoric. It was a treat, for sure. A surprise treat. Another band I ran into going to Coheed again was actually Thank You Scientists. That was a band that Evil Ink Studios had signed, which was actually Claudio's label, the lead singer of Coheed and Cambria. He had his own label and he signed them, and they were phenomenal. Like, there was, I think, 9 people in that band, and every single one of them, like, it's hard to say what the defining point of being a master of your instrument is, but I felt like all of them were there. That's not to say they're the best in the world. They could never get better. No, that's the artist's journey. You're always trying to get better. But I feel like every single one of those musicians at their instrument, the lay person would look to them and like, oh, this is a master of this instrument. They were that good. And what was even cooler is when Coheed and Cambria came out, they had actually done one of their newer songs off of, God, which album was it? I think it was Ascent or Descent. But they had actually brought the trumpet and saxophone player out to accompany them for one of their songs, and that was awesome too. So I love when bigger bands give that opportunity to smaller bands. I know for me, like, if this channel gets big one day, maybe, I would definitely want to do the same thing for other streamers, other YouTubers, other content creators, because I know what it takes to get there. It's long, it's arduous, it's a lot of believing in yourself. Um, Even though you feel like there's no reason to believe that it will get big. So there will be weeks when I have really low view count and I'm like, man, if I lost it, have people not interested anymore? Like, should I keep going? You can't you can't do that to yourself. You have to keep pushing, keep making videos, keep improving, because it will get better. And if any other content creators happen to come across this video, I want you to know that is what it is. It is being diligent. It is being, okay, this is going to be the most, what's the word? Cliched word to come across YouTube is be consistent. So I'm going to expand on that a little bit, because somebody will say, be consistent, you'll get big on YouTube. Yes and no. Consistency is broken into a lot of different factors. One factor is putting out your videos on time. Another factor is putting out your videos on time without sacrificing quality. There have been times when I put out a video and I felt like I phoned it in a bit and the editing was not where I wish it would have been before it went out. But at least I got it out on time. That sounds like it should be good, right? Well, if everybody clicks the video and say I didn't spend the time on the audio that I should have, they're going to hear crappy audio in the first 5 seconds and click off. And bad views. And that's no good. So consistency in all that you do. It's not just when you post. It's not what you post. It's all the aspects. If you like making certain jokes in your videos, keep up those same kind of jokes if they're hitting well. If they're not, change it up. Excuse me. If you, and I'm guilty of not doing this, okay? I'm not going to say I'm perfect at all. No way. If you promise something in your video that you're going to do later, do your best to follow through. I know I've promised more content on Valheim when it comes to building videos, and I have not followed through, and that's just been a matter of time. I have a 2.5-year-old, I have a 9-to-5 job, I have a wife, and there's only so much time in the day to work on a YouTube channel. So I make sure I keep up my Let's Plays above all else, because those are the most consistent thing on my channel. But I do want to start sprinkling other videos in where I can. And some of those might be even, reviews of Ahsoka, or a review, the overall review of the games I've finished so far, other than just in the moment commentary. Because, I look back at Fallen Order and I feel like I actually need to spend some dedicated time remembering everything that happened, because it's a joyride when you're in it, but at the end you're just kind of like, okay, all right, that was a lot. But yeah, I think doing a video like a review would be a lot of fun. All right, let's see, what do we got here? Where is this going? Am I making 2 of these? Got one of those. Okay, this is the first one I made. I just didn't put it in place. Here we go. This is another one of those moments where I'm talking a lot and I effectively go blind to everything in front of me. Unless it's what I'm talking about, and in that case, it was not. And then I kind of snap back into the reality of what's happening in front of me, and I'm like, where was I? Uh, I will get better at that. That is going to take practice. Probably stopping myself a little more along the way to make sure I'm still on track. But you know, all part of it. And I am building the wrong one. Hold on. Just like this little stop to make sure I'm on track. Slight change. Nothing crazy. I didn't get too far into it. There we go. So here we go. And then we gotta get the pink. We gotta get the green brick. I'm just gonna call these a 4 brick. I think that's a good name for them. Boop. And what am I missing? 4 brick's not in the right spot. 4 brick is in the wrong place. Ah, here's one of those moments where our handy dandy tool comes in handy. Just gotta click it in, peel. There we go. Get it off nice and easy. Okay, let's focus up for 2 seconds just to get past this piece because it seems to be causing me a little bit of trouble. Alright, we are on track. Got this piece. That piece is gonna go right about here. We are on our way. Yeah, Legos, man. I think you'd be hard pressed to find like a lot of '90s kids, or any '90s kids that didn't have Legos at some point, or at least went to their friend's house and played with Legos. Like, it is cemented in it is cemented as a young person's outlet to be creative. I remember I made stuff, and I still have like vague snapshots in my mind of the stuff I would make when I was like 6 or 7. And I remember seeing them as this awesome, cool spaceship. Holy crap. And that snapshot in my mind's eye, I feel like is being honest and telling me, bro, it wasn't that cool. But in my mind, it was amazing. And it just makes you feel so good. Feeling like you made something from nothing. And that's the most important thing when it comes to creativity, is making something from nothing. And being able to appreciate the feeling of finishing it, as well as the feeling of looking at it and saying, man, I could have done this better. Let's try again. And that's something I had to learn really early on with drawing. Drawing. So this is gonna sound really silly. When I was in elementary school, there's every school has those kids that seem cooler than the rest, right? And all of those kids had Pokemon cards. They drew anime. They drew Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon, you name it. And I wasn't good at drawing right away. I was pretty terrible. But I worked at it like a kid possessed. To the point where I could draw Super Saiyan Goku in the scene where he first transformed while fighting Frieza from memory, and near picture perfect. And that felt really good. But then I had to eventually evolve to the point where it's, well, I'm drawing everybody else's stuff at this point. And it's great for practice. It's great for understanding proportions. It's great for understanding spacing of body parts, eyes, the eyebrows, stuff like that. Um, but eventually, you have to take that knowledge and make something new. Um, I did some work like that. I had some artwork here and there. Um, I never thought it was any good, but that's probably my own bias. I realize that now. I actually came across a couple pictures not too long ago in one of my old sketchbooks and feeling like, man, I actually was a bit better than I thought it was back then. Um, Now, the majority of my artwork is digital, and that is a byproduct of my job because um, in my position at work, uh, I'm not in the HR department, but my boss is. So my job, part of my new job description was after transferring under his leadership was actually to do photoshops of my coworkers for their anniversary. And one of these days, I probably will share my photoshops that were done of me. I've been there 6 years. I've got a few. Oh, excuse me, 8 years. I've got a few. um, yeah, every year my boss comes up with a wacky idea for one of our employees on their anniversary and says, hey, uh, I want you to put this face on this character or something like that in Photoshop. Well, the digital art part came into it because in some cases we did not have pictures of my coworkers that really conformed. A lot of the cases were looking, the person in the picture was looking in the wrong direction or didn't have the right lighting or stuff like that. And uh, instead of trying to put out a crappy Photoshop by, blending too much or saturating too much in some areas, making it look less believable, I would decide, you know what, instead of trying to make it a Photoshop live picture, I'll just draw this person as this character. Um, and that was a hit with my boss and the people who I made the pictures for. So that actually turned into the icon you see here on my channel, as well as my Twitch and my any other social media probably has this icon on it now. Um, I had watched some Chi World videos on YouTube and saw how he would turn people into cartoons. I kind of became his student online for a little while. He never knew about this, but I would watch his videos, look at the things he used to set up, what paint brushes, what textures, what settings, and I would start doing them myself. And that's when I made that icon, and it has been my brand icon for quite some time. It probably does need some updating. I would like to eventually turn it into something Star Wars themed where, instead of that leather mask I'm wearing in the picture, which, by the way, I wore that in that picture before, what are they calling it online? On YouTube. Before the scary spiky spheres. That's my name for it right now because I can't remember what other people say. Before the scary spiky spheres started spreading from overseas to the U.S., I made that leather mask because a character in Fortnite came out with a mask like that, and I wanted to imitate that and just make something like it. And so literally sewed the leather myself, made the leather cord that got it to my ears, and actually used some tools to punch holes in for breathing. And it's a really cool mask. I still have it. But yeah, that's where that came from. So that's the kind of digital art I do. Um, and I like it. I love making cartoony drawings. The only time I make stuff look close to real is if I have to get really creative with a Photoshop job. If my boss says, take this employee and put him in a painting, well, there's a lot that goes into that. There's matching up skin tones, there's matching up saturation, there's matching up brightness and where the light's coming from. And it's definitely doable. But the most recent skill I learned in Photoshop was actually how to take the texture from another part of a painting and put it over the new face I've put on the painting. So it actually makes it look like it has that brushstroke, that same brushstroke texture from the original painting. Oh yeah, Led Zeppelin, man, they're definitely a. There's so much music today that can be traced back to Led Zeppelin, and going even further, it gets traced back to the Beatles. But I know that Led Zeppelin was actually one of the people who one of the bands that inspired Van Halen's sound. There was rumors for a long time that Van Halen had created the first tapping solo, had been the first person to tap his finger on the fretboard to make a note. And I don't think that's true. I think it's probably definitely in the same time period. But his explanation of it was he actually saw Led Zeppelin playing, and he saw Jimmy Page using his fingers in a way where he held one string and he just kind of tapped his other finger to do hammer on, pull off, hammer on, pull off. And he's like, well, what if I just do that with a different finger? It's a lot easier. And that's where his tapping solos came from. That's how he came up with it. Man, Led Zeppelin. Many a times, probably giving myself near brain damage rocking out in the car to them. Definitely one of those bands. All right, so let's get started on this part. Okay, just making sure I'm keeping up with chat. I don't want you guys to think I'm ignoring you, and I definitely not. It is probably part of that temporary blind list, but I'm trying to make sure it isn't often. I think we're making the visor right now, which is pretty cool. I was wondering how they were going to do that. Okay, so we got the two long gray pieces. We got the two smooth flats for the corner pieces. And then we got 8 of the little greens. Yeah, translucent greens? I think it's translucent. I think transparent means it's literally you can't really see it. Translucent means very faint rather than, I think translucent blocks more light than transparent does. I don't remember the exact definition on that. Shame, technical writer. But I'll find out, and we might bring that up in the next video, in the next live stream. All right, we're on our way. That's my brain buffering. All right. I wonder if I need to zoom in a little bit more on the overhead, but I'm not sure. It also looks like it is a little bit blurry. I might have to tap it for focus in a moment. Let's see here. Can't really see my camera. Oh well. Well, let's see if I just turned it off on accident. I hope not. Let me check something. Oh no, it's definitely coming through a lot clearer than I thought. Awesome. Cool. Okay, so now we got the green pieces in. We turn it this way. And we put these two flats back here. And the flats are going to be facing down. I'm going to put these pieces together. Nice. We are on track, everybody. Alright. 2 flat grays. I meant to separate you earlier and I did not. That's okay. We are okay. Okay. I'm not gonna parse that out by eyeball. Let's see what the pieces are. 1, 2 of these. 2 of the flat squares. Then we got 2 slopes. Rounded slopes. Okay. I'm gonna do this. Like so. Put this guy on right here. Nice. Let me do that twice. This is not the way it's supposed to be. Excuse me. There we go. Okay, so each one's going to go on the side. Nice. And you're going to go. Oh, you're over here. Oh! Thought I lost it. Alright, you need to go right here. There we go, everybody. Head is on its way. We got the visor. And I will be taking a short break. 1, 2, probably 2 minutes at most. Okay, I am back, everybody. Thank you so much for your patience. I needed a quick mental reset because I was kind of blanking on what to talk about next, and I had this great list of ideas of what to talk about on the stream, and I never wrote them down. So I kind of just been meandering on a stream of consciousness kind of thing going so far, but it's been good. I think so. I think we're having a lot of fun. I'm definitely making some progress. So, Mr. Devs, what were you planning on picking my brain about? I would love to open my brain to you on what I know of the thing. I will wait for your response and start working on more Legos. You know, now I realize the stream is actually probably not at the point. Uh, it's actually probably a few minutes behind, so actually I will keep talking until your reply pops up in the chat, and we'll get back to it. Um, what I want to talk about next is something I find, I wouldn't say shameful on my end, but definitely needs to be rectified. Is that I have not finished Star Wars Clone Wars. I wish I did, because I've been watching Ahsoka, and it seems like Clone Wars is a very, very relevant, as much relevant as Rebels is. I did watch a lot of Rebels. I think I finished. I finished Rebels. I did finish Rebels, but it was at a time when I had a lot going on. I was still in school. My focus was pretty split. I had a really bad multitasking problem at the time. So I would be trying to study and watch Rebels at the same time. So I probably missed a lot of information. So I probably will be watching Clone Wars and from beginning to end, and Rebels from beginning to end over again, just to reacquaint myself with all of the things that now seem quite relevant, thanks to Ahsoka. Which Ahsoka, phenomenal. Um, I will say that one thing that was pretty glaring when I watched Ahsoka was how spoiled I was when it came to lightsaber battles, because in the beginning it was okay. They were good battles. the The way they fought made sense. They just felt a little slow, um, and that is because after Kenobi and Anakin fought on Mustafar, man, they set the bar so high. It was ridiculous. And there's an episode, and I'll try to be as spoiler free as possible about this. Um, there is an episode where that difference is shown, and I was very excited about it. um, my wife is very aware of my excitement over it because I was basically exploding with glee after seeing that scene, and I just kind of info dumped on her about it right after. But again, trying to be spoiler free. I know there are people in the chat who have not watched Ahsoka yet, so I'll be nice. I'll be good. But it was really good. The finale I have not seen. Um, it's been a busy week, but I will probably be fixing that tomorrow, which will be nice because I am very interested to see what happens with Ahsoka, Balin's skull in the last episode. Um, Another thing, and it makes me think about the Old Republic a lot. Um, for reasons I'm not going to go too far in detail about, but it feels like some things from Old Republic are relevant, and I want to find out if there is a connection there. Which means I may have to boot up the MMO for not necessarily a Let's Play. Maybe, I came back to Star Wars The Old Republic in 2023, and this is what I think kind of video. Because that one I did play when it came out. I had the collector's box. I have the Darth Malgus statue still. Um, and I think I might actually have two. I think somebody gifted me one. Didn't know I already had it. But, it's nice to have one at work and one at home. This one came with stickers. And I don't see stickers. Are you in the bag? No. Are you in this bag? This bag? No. Checking the floor. No. Stickers. Found them. All right. Where were we? Oh yes, Old Republic. Funny thing. The first time I played Star Wars, the Knights of the Old Republic, I had just bought an Xbox when I was younger. I don't remember the year. Whatever year the Xbox came out. And I remember the two games I got were Halo and Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Who? The Sith Lords. And for some reason, I thought it wouldn't matter. I didn't realize that at the time in my young age that, there might be a sequence to these things. Because I'm used to games like Super Mario, where if you play number 2 or number 3, it doesn't take away from 1. And there's not information you need from 1 to play those games. But that was not the case. And I remember feeling very entrenched in Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic because it felt so huge. There were so many planets you could visit. There's so many and there's so many moments when you had to make choices that made you think really hard. And what didn't help with Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2 is you had Kreia there, making pretty much any decision you made seem wrong. And that frustrated me a bit because I was also of the opinion, like other characters in the Star Wars universe, where deciding to do nothing is not usually a good decision. We saw what happened in the Star Wars prequels. Jedi Council waited too long to do anything about Palpatine becoming Emperor, and look how that turned out. That was pretty much the whole premise for the first Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Revan and Malak both were part of the Jedi Order at the time, I believe, and during the Jedi Mandalorian Wars, and the Jedi Council had decided it's not our fight that the Mandalorians are going around blowing up other worlds and just completely reaping them for the resources, whatever they want, on a conquest path. And Revan was like, that's bullshit. We're keepers of the peace. We're supposed to be keeping the peace. And, sitting in our ivory towers is not keeping the peace. It's cowardice. And in a way, I felt like, in a lot of sense, the Jedi Council has a tendency to be cowardly. Until it decides not to be. When it decides not to be, then it is a force to be reckoned with. But getting it to that point is like pulling teeth. Like, it's not our problem. Let them sort it out. or you know, it's not worlds that we're currently under jurisdiction for and stuff like that. I'm like, but this is clearly an unjust situation going on. We should do something because it's part of our code. So I fully understand Revan's reason for leaving the Jedi Council at that point after they said, no, you're not supposed to do that. And he's like, well, to me, yes, Jedi are supposed to do that, so I'm going to. Oh, where am I? 43. Ooh, I did that wrong. It's okay. I did not go too far doing it wrong. Is there a way to get these off easier? Oh yeah, the little pick end. That's what I gotta use. Let's just kind of do like that. Back in frame, of course. There we go. These pieces go here, here. Then these go here. Oh man, Fallout Boy's here. You want to talk about artistically one of my most influential bands, Fall Out Boy. And you know, it was just a product of the time. I had just really started paying or taking some serious efforts into learning guitar, and it wasn't through lessons. I didn't get lessons. I'm still pretty glad I didn't get lessons because much like a lot of famous guitarists, I didn't want to sit there and learn the scales first. I wanted to learn the songs I loved, and then, you know, maybe we'll work on the theory later, which I did to some extent because I understood some theory being a trumpet player. But man, when I was learning guitar, it was like, okay, what are the tabs for Sugar We're Going Down? What are the tabs for Between Angels and Insects by Papa Roach? Like, that was my learning phase for quite a while, was just playing songs I loved. And if anybody wants to learn guitar, I heavily recommend you look into the game Rocksmith. That is literally a video game where you hook up a real guitar to your computer and you play it like Guitar Hero. So the notes come down the track just like in Guitar Hero. It tells you what string, what fret, what chords, all that stuff, and play it enough times and eventually it sticks. I bet right now I could go grab my guitar and play Going Under by Evanescence just by playing it enough times on there. It's not that difficult. It's time consuming, I can tell you that. But yes, I will definitely probably have dents in my fingers going into tomorrow morning, and I hope that didn't throw my focus off too much. But that is part of the joy of building Legos. It is somewhat a masochistic experience. Okay, get these two. We get this and this. Because from here, this looked like 2 pieces. It's actually 4. Glad I took a second to pay attention first. Scary spiky spears. Spheres, balls. The ick of 2019. We'll call it that. Of 2019, 2020. Or was it 2020, 2021? I think it started end of 19. I don't remember. But yeah, I feel like I should have dove into YouTube at that time because that man, there were a lot of channels that started up during the hibernation in the U.S. That's what we'll call it, hibernation period. Um, and a lot of channels got huge out of it. But we are here now. We are doing it. You know, there's no pass or fail to me. There is, am I doing it? Good. It's soda for me. My lovely wife, your daughter, likes to drive me nuts and say "pap" in her northern way. And you know, it feels so weird that that bothers me so much because I was born in Wisconsin, and then, but being a military brat, as we all are, the one, you know, there's a lot of us. I did not stay in Wisconsin enough to pick up Wisconsin culture or dialect. So, you know, okay, we got these four tiny corners, and we got square. I tell you what, there was actually one dialect, and it's so weird. I picked up like the Hispanic, what's the word, like Southern Texas Hispanic dialect, and that was because when I was, what was I, between 15 and 17, I worked at Sonic Drive-In, and the people I worked with were not military brats like me. They were local. Um, so they had a completely different, you know, tone, mannerisms, different dialect to how they used English, which was kind of a shock for me. Because I feel like military kids have a very, um, I wouldn't say structured, but it's like military kids' vocabulary is pretty consistent across the branches. Um, but then going and talking to people who aren't in that military world, you see how different words are used and how different slang came about, and it kind of it's a culture shock for a military kid. But after working there a few years, you know, I would start to imitate it and kind of sound like that Southern Hispanic tone to my voice, just out of the habit of hearing it so much. And then there was somebody I worked with at the BX, which was really funny because she's Scottish, and I had always joked around doing Irish accents, just doing quotes from movies and stuff like that. But I walked up to her and she had greeted me, and she has a very thick Scottish accent. Um, she's like, "Oh, how are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, pretty good. How about you?" And, and I literally stopped myself, and I was like, "I am so sorry. I promise I am not making fun of your accent at all." She's like, "No, I get it. Actually, Scottish and Irish are really easy to pick up." I'm like, "Okay, so it's not just me." But it just slipped right out. I felt so rude and so sorry, but she loved it. She thought it was funny, and she was a very relaxed and laid back person, so it went over very well. Plus, there was very few people that didn't like me when I worked there, and the people that didn't uh, were for reasons. Some of my bosses didn't like me because I worked too fast, got all my work done, and then didn't do anything because there wasn't anything to do. Um, and I'd be like, guys, do you want me to be a good worker or do you want me to be a bad worker as long as I look like I'm working? And I wasn't actually going to let them make that decision. I was going to do it myself. I was going to get in, do all my work very quickly. And then if anything popped up, I was the first person to jump up and say, hey, I can do that. I got nothing else I'm working on right now. So I actually ended up doing a lot of extra work at that job and learning some stuff in the process. I got to learn how to learn how to drill bit through tile, stuff like that, just because I was available when I had odd things around the BX needed doing. Now, one thing I did do that I was not a fan of and would not volunteer to do it again was replacing the fluorescent light bulbs inside the store. And this is a retail store, so you're talking like, if I had to guess, 20, 25-foot ceilings. But it was high. on a big old ladder that seemed a little sketchy, to say the least. It was not fun. All right, we're on to bag 3. Why do I feel like I missed something? I got 2 black of those black pieces left over, and I just want to make sure I didn't miss them somewhere. Well, if I did, hold on, let's take a peek. Let's get this big piece off. Come on now. Don't be difficult. This is not good. Here we go. Okay. I see what I missed. And you know what? It's a simple fix. Thank goodness. One here. Get in there. There we go. This one here. This one here. This goes back on top. Well, I'm glad we didn't have to deconstruct too much to fix that one, because that could have been bad. All right, now we are on to bag 3. We already got through this stuff. All right, before we start bag 3, quick break, and I'll be right back. You can see the progress we've had so far. Okay, everybody, we are back. We are starting on bag 3, and I noticed in my short break, I took a look at the chat, and it seems like there is some heated debate over various food items. And, well, we're just going to tell you, we're just going to talk about what I think about these various food items real quick. Where am I going to start? Oh, yeah, celery. Let me tell you right now, that is the worst vegetable I have ever eaten raw. And I've eaten habaneros and ghost peppers off the stem. Okay? I would rather eat a jalapeno, serrano, ghost pepper, habanero off the stem, and I don't like spicy food that much, than be forced to eat celery. To me, it tastes like armpit water. Crunchy armpit water. That is what celery is. Keep it away from me. I don't want it. No, thank you. Moving on. Soup from a can. Soup from a can. I have no problems with soup from a can. Sorry, I grew up on Campbell's Chicken and Stars, and I will eat it to this day. That is not a problem for me. What else we got here? What else we got here? Green beans and mashed potatoes. I've never done green beans and mashed potatoes. I've done peas and mashed potatoes. Delicious. I've done corn and mashed potatoes. Also delicious. My music has stopped. What is the meaning of this? Your account is being used on another device. I'll give it back. Ha ha ha. There we go. Alright, we're back. Yeah, real easy. I like green beans. I like mashed potatoes. Probably would like that. Which is actually very weird for me because growing up, if food touched each other, I did not eat it. No, it had to be it had to be divided on the plate or else it was dead to me. I'm like that sometimes, very rarely, in my adult life. But that's if something on the plate is something I don't like and it's touching something I do like. Then I will be I'll feel a little bit of the ick. But other than that, it's not really an issue for me anymore. I heard something about pumpkin pie. I love pumpkin pie. I have no problems with pumpkin pie. It is not my favorite pie. My favorite pie, one is a pie I don't think you can go wrong with, is pecan pie. Pecan pie, however you say it. Either way works for me. I think it's another one of those situations where both pronunciations are correct. Yeah, I like pumpkin pie. Someone had me try sweet potato pie, and I said, "Oh, I thought that's pumpkin pie," because they taste so similar. So yes, I will also say that I like sweet potato pie because to me, there is virtually no difference in flavor. What other foods we got here? Blueberry pies. Yes, I do like blueberry pie. I've had blueberry pie. I've also had cherry pie. It's also good. I'm not a huge fan of blueberry and cherry pie, just because it's messy. I don't know why. Whenever I eat cherry and blueberry pie, I feel the need to scrape the plate of all the sauce to not miss any of it, and it's a little annoying. But they do taste good. I will say that. Fruit pie, yeah, fruit pies are good. Fruit cake, however, I think I'd rather eat moldy bread than eat a fruit cake. Because at least I can stomach the smell of mold. I can't stomach the smell of whatever fruitcake is. Yeah, no, that's not a thing for me. I have eaten it to people, and I'm just not a fan. That's all that is. All there is to that. Do we got any other food items? Well, doesn't look like any more food items are being put on the table, so that topic is closed out for now. Alright, where are we here? Okay, we finished this section. Let's move on, because we do need to finish this at some point tonight. As much as I am thoroughly enjoying just talking to everybody and commenting on what everybody is saying, and I realize that with the lag between the content, the lag between the stream and the chat is pretty huge. You guys won't be hearing my opinion on the foods for a while, but when you do, I expect some hurt feelings, some validations. I am looking forward to that for sure.
I'm sorry? Okay. Quick refresh for anybody tuning in late and hasn't seen what we are working on. We are working on Princess Leia's helmet from when she went to save Han Solo from the Carbonite. In Star Wars Galaxy, this is called a Ubis helmet. In, I guess, what is new canon, it is called a Bausch helmet. But yeah, that's what we're working on. Hopefully, well, no real hopefully, I'm getting this done tonight. It just might take a while. You know what? I should put that probably somewhere more easily be seen. The bag's over there. Just put it right there. That's a good spot, I think. Is that being covered? Is that covering anything? No. Well, here's a good spot. Right here. This is what we're working on. I think. Yes. Yeah, it's flipped from what I'm seeing from the camera to the stream, so that is correct. Let's see here. I just finished this portion. Yes. Moving on to this one. One of these. Oh man, this is such a sad song. Let's go ahead and skip this for the time being. I don't know if I want to make my viewers sad. 9 in the afternoon, that's a good one. Panic at the Disco was another one of those bands that was a heavy influence for me. Less so on the guitar part, but more so as a vocal influence. I did a lot of singing Panic at the Disco when I was younger. And I still do. Fun. The man has an amazing voice. It's definitely a lot clearer than mine, but I'm a lot better than I was when I first started trying to sing stuff. I can say that. Oh, okay, devs. Okay, so for editing, here's the thing. I use a program called Camtasia. I have a license for it. It's not cheap. I would say it's good. It's a good screen capture. It's good for editing in the back end, but it's definitely not the best. I know programs like Adobe Premiere Pro, Final Cut, as well as there probably are a couple others that I looked into at one point and don't really remember because I already have the license for Camtasia. That do a good job. I would say don't go with Camtasia. At least not right now. I've had a lot of issues where I would be screen recording and I would find out at the end of making my video that it was just black screen the whole time. I had made no changes to my settings. I had done nothing different from my video setup that I had already done many times before. It just that day did not pick up any of my feed and I had lost content. I had to essentially either completely restart the game, or there were cases where I completely restarted a game, got back to where I had started filming that episode and refilmed it. And I very much do not want to do that again. And if I do have to, I would like it to be very few and far between. So I highly recommend Adobe Premiere Pro. It is also a pretty hefty price tag. Final Cut might be a lot better. This Final Cut Pro, I believe it's called. Yeah, so that's what I use. Why do I feel like I'm missing something from one of these pieces? Yes, I did. It's right here. I will be diving into Premiere Pro or Final Cut at some point. As far as tips go for any video editing, and these are things I try to live up to. Not every video I edit goes this way, and that could be for various reasons. It could be for time, or just I don't feel it's appropriate for that video. I try to cut out any sections where I'm not talking, at least not for too long. Right? If there's like a 5 to 10 second span of me not talking, I might leave it in there. Or if it's because the content on the screen is important to my playthrough, I'll keep it in there. But I try to limit the dead space as much as possible. And that's a matter of engagement. I don't want people to watch my Let's Plays and get bored. One, because they'll leave the video. Two, my purpose as a content creator is to entertain. Now, there's many different definitions of entertainment when it comes to the internet. My core concept of entertainment is either I'm making you laugh, I'm helping you relive the experience of the game I am playing through me. So that's very cathartic. I know for me, when I watch people play or do Let's Plays of games like Final Fantasy VII, is like a perfect example because anybody, I'm going to say the spoiler because if this is a spoiler for you, I'm very sorry, but it is a, how many year old game? 23? Trying to think, sorry. 26-year-old game, Final Fantasy VII. The scene where Aerith dies. I like to